A very warm welcome. Thank you so much for tuning in. You're just on time for the Weekend Focus right here on Look Up TV. And today we look at the COVID-19 worrying numbers in the country, as well as the national examinations for the KCP that have just been concluded and the KCSE that are yet to begin. And of course, we'll also be looking at inside politics, the journey to 2022 general elections. With me on set is Victor Saitabao, right next to me, who is a political aspirant. Karibu.
Thank
and
you.
On the far end, Chari Oyeyo, political scientist. Welcome, gentlemen, and let's have this conversation. So COVID-19, the COVID-19 pandemic, in the recent weeks, the statistics, positive cases, they've risen up to like over 16% of new infections as of right now. So, and the president is set to address the nation. Do we think that we are up for another lockdown? Yes, Victor.
Thank you very much, Nelima, for having us today. I'm glad to be back here. Actually, what I see about this coronavirus as we speak, I hear that there's a third wave, which there was the first wave, the second wave, and now we are at the third wave. I saw the numbers as at now we are 127,000 confirmed cases, 2,000 deaths, and then I think 90 something thousand recoveries. As at now, okay, the president is to talk today. He's to address the nation. But the current lockdown, yes, it has done its good, and also it has had its challenges to the country and to the economy. But what I'll think, maybe if today the president talks, he should make a wider consideration about the economy and also concerning the health of the people. I think today he should make a better informed decision.
Okay.
So I really think.
And then, Chari, the vaccine rollout, we are, I think, in week 3. Right now, we're almost completing a month since the vaccines started being rolled out in different parts of the country. So in terms of just how people are receiving it, what are your thoughts?
Thank you so much. Well, I think Kenyans were not prepared enough for the vaccine because we've had issues throughout history with the vaccination and immunization. Kenyans have been able to access information, and there are times where especially people of African descent have been subjected to questionable vaccination. So there's a number of Kenyans who are a bit skeptical with the whole idea of being vaccinated. So if you tell them, go out there and get vaccinated against COVID-19, they'll actually boycott the idea. So I didn't see any campaign telling guys, hey, get ready, we have this number of vaccinations, it's okay, it's safe, go out there and get it. So, and that is number one. There was no preparation. Number two, of course, the doses we have are not enough. That is going to be a challenge as we go forward. And then number three, we have a case of some funny privilege or preferential treatment of a group of people, especially politicians. You know, they're the ones who rushed first to do that. If you go to a place like the US, the doses were first administered to healthcare workers, the guys we call frontline workers who are at the greatest risk. But you know, this being a third world country where corruption is out of the day, politicians feel like they're the ones who should get served
priority
first. So that is a big issue. So what we need to do is to go back and motivate Kenyans, show them the reason to get the vaccine. Obviously, Kenyans nowadays access information without any kind of, obstacle or distraction or blockade.
Yeah.
And they've read, the vaccine we have, it's not the best. The best is from Moderna and the other one is from Pfizer, but the one we have has an efficacy level of about 63%. So Kenyans can see what we're getting is not the best. They'll come up with all sorts of explanations and stuff like that, but it's not the best.
Okay.
So we should, even if it's from the World Health Organization, we have to push for the best so that we can reduce skepticism and all these questions of the efficacy and possible side effects of the vaccine. There's all sorts of rumors online. Oh, if you get it, you're not going to be able to conceive, or if you get it at some point, you're going to lose your hearing and all those things.
Okay.
Those rumors have not been dealt with accordingly. So even if we get enough doses for Kenyans, we'll have some Kenyans who will not be confident enough to go for it. Yeah.
So the Ministry of Health then has not played its role. And maybe the president, by not getting vaccinated, then he has not set the example for the rest of us to go ahead and get the vaccination.
Actually, what he said is very true. In this country right now as we speak, Kenyans follow what their leaders do. And most of us, we always have a point of reference. The government actually never did enough communication. Because if today, for me to be vaccinated, I have to ask my doctor, can I be vaccinated? Then you find my doctor, he himself or herself has not been vaccinated. If some health workers are skeptical about it, how about laymen like us who even don't know anything to do with such?
Sure.
So we'll be skeptical about it. Secondly, also there are point of references like the church. Other people could say, for me to be vaccinated, I have to ask my priest first. If we did not educate those leaders that inform decisions that other people make, it will be very hard for Kenyans to come out and get vaccinated. Because I was seeing, as of yesterday, I think there were 63,000 vaccinated so far.
64
which
now.
which was it is really it is quite low as per expected, which makes the vaccination a bit not very effective. But we also know Kenyans are people who come out rush hour. Maybe if tomorrow wakisema almost the vaccines are almost done, we all go
Then we
there.
rush like
So we
the
never
Huduma
know.
number.
Actually, but the government has not done enough about the vaccination. And also, we follow by example. The president was telling the cabinet secretaries and other leaders to go get vaccinated, which is a voluntary thing, so he might not force them, but they will do it voluntarily. But if we saw the president and the deputy and the other leaders going,
That would speak volumes.
that would speak volumes. Even if they could go there and just get some type of injection, we could all go there. But actually there was less communication and they did not show us by example.
Okay.
What Kenyans
So
should
then this lack of, what I say, strategic communication, now that the third wave is here and our numbers are skyrocketing, so then what can we do right now as a country? If we're skeptical about the vaccination, but the numbers are alarming, then what's the next move?
Well, I think like most African countries, Kenya happens to be at a crossroads. Every single time Africans have a disaster, they can never rely on their government entirely to protect them. That is why from the time COVID-19 came up, at the back of my mind I knew Kenyans are on their own, and indeed they were on their own. So the point is, don't forget your mask. Don't forget your mask. Go back to social distancing. Wash your hands. You don't have to access a sanitizer because you know the government got money, 8 billion shillings, that was meant to go to masks and sanitizers and all that, and the money was stolen. The president ordered for some investigation. We don't know what happened. So you can never bank on such a government to help. Go back to using your masks, social distance, wash your hands properly, and make sure anytime you have a problem, you seek medical attention. As we speak now, most of the hospitals, they don't have space. You remember governors came out and told us we are prepared. We have ICU level facilities and we can take care of any kind of, as we speak now, most of these county level hospitals don't have capacity to take care of COVID-19 patients. In fact, the guys are dying in their homes and getting buried. That is what's happening. So Kenyans are on their own. They have to actually take personal responsibility. I want to agree with the Minister of Health, Mutahi Kagwe. He made it very clear from the word go. Your life is on your hands as a Kenyan, as Kenyans. Go out there, always protect yourself. Don't count on the government. Anytime there's money donated to Kenya for any kind of help,
It never really gets to the
people.
Yes.
It will always be like that. Whether the president sings hallelujah to governors or whatever, the money will be stolen. Kenyans are on their own. Mask up, social distance, sanitize, and pray to God. And when election time comes, make your vote count. That is the point. What I know from the research that I've done, people get the kind of leaders they deserve. Africans have a very, very funny level of literacy when it comes to electioneering. We get bought small amounts of money during electioneering, we make the wrong choice, and we complain thereafter. we forget we're given 1,000 shillings and we voted the wrong way. Yeah, so we have a president who has a good heart, I guess, but then he's surrounded by guys who cannot really, work with him to deliver anything. And I don't know what happens, because even the second wave itself and the first wave, the actions the government was taking were questionable. You remember there were guys who were evicted from some place in Kariobangi in the middle of a heavy downpour and at the peak of the first wave. So I was even asking myself, what's going on here? At least you get to understand the country is going through a very difficult time. These guys don't have a place to stay. Let's have them stay here for the time being as we contain or control the pandemic. They were actually evicted. And then I was asking, is this the government of Uhuru Kenyatta doing this? Because I know him as a man who has a good heart. I was shocked. So Kenyans are on their own. Yeah, so, and as far as the vaccination is concerned, if the doses are enough, they should go out there and get it. At least the vulnerable ones. We need to get our healthcare workers vaccinated properly. We need to give priority to our old people. Yeah. If I'm 35 years old and I have a mother who is 70, I shouldn't trash. In fact, I should queue my mom before myself.
And actually 60% of the deaths are people who are above 50 years.
Yeah, so we know the science of COVID-19. Yes. We have to make sure the guys who are at risk get taken care of first. We have to contain our greed. We are known for greed, and we just have to contain that, at least for this one.
Okay. Yeah. And now looking at our politicians, the many campaigns, the president suspended gatherings following the surging numbers of the third wave. Now when they are all taking a back seat right now when we have the third wave, is that really being honest about the affairs?
Okay, before that, just to add on what he said, right now as a country, we might rush to a lockdown, and locking down might not help so much. Additional of those vaccines might help the country more. It might help us get more results than we could get in locking us up and everything. As you asked, most politicians currently they are reserved, no one comments anything, all of them are shut. Because so far, all of them know that to some point they are responsible. Like I saw in Machakos, Mutua saying that beds were, the ICU beds were, they were all filled up. And these are the politicians who should have made sure that, as it was said, each county should have at least 300 ICU beds. But I think not even more than 10 counties made it. Most of them did not. And they cannot talk right now when Kenyans are in a third phase. They are really doing badly. Their lives are in danger. They cannot come out there and talk, which is hypocritical, because we expected them to come out, advise Kenyans on what to do, advise Kenyans, because themselves also, they are not even advising Kenyans to go and take the jab. They are not, because they have not taken, or they have taken it secretly. And you wonder now, because as he just said, the government sometimes is, I don't know whether it's joking with us, because some actions which they are taking are not very genuine. Like, okay, I don't want to talk about it so much. They are saying they want to evict refugees. Those are 200,000 in one camp, 200,000 in another camp. How will you evict 400,000 refugees amidst the pandemic? And you're the same government that's saying we are in the third wave. Okay, they are not, maybe they might not be Kenyans, but in the humanitarian way, it is not a fair thing. It is not fair, because it will be ironical for you to say we are in the third wave. How can you transport 400,000 people? If we need a bus, one bus, it will carry maybe 30 people. How many buses will we need to ferry them out of this country?
So again, our priorities, even
priorities
at the time
are upside
when
down.
we have a pandemic, yes.
They are upside down. So I think also the government should not go behind itself on the other side while they are trying to correct a mistake. So I think we are not really communicating in the right way. The government should just get serious, and because these actions make Kenyans think that this pandemic is a hoax. Because if on this side you're saying this, on this side you're doing
and
this.
our affairs seem to be normal again.
Our affairs seem to be normal, and at the same time you want to lock us up. At the same time you want to raise fuel prices. How do you want Kenyans to live? It is ironical. I think the government is not sincere to itself and its people.
And now looking at the national examinations, The KCP has just been concluded. Some of the practicals for the KCSE are ongoing and they'll commence once the week starts. So the exams are being done for the first time during a pandemic. So then what are your thoughts on maybe how the marking should be? Yes, set about.
Okay, let me start because previously when exams are done, marking centers, do you know how they operate? Those teachers operate like students. They go to one school, they take those beds, wanalala hapo, then this teacher ikitanda chini, another there, then they are always crowded. This time round, what I should advise those teachers and the government, because this vaccine has been brought, and I think the president himself said, this vaccine will be for frontline workers, and I think teachers are frontline workers, just as like nurses, police officers, and other officers in the government. Teachers are frontline workers, and this time round, if these teachers are going to mark these exams, I think it will be after 2 weeks. They have not yet received their jabs, they have not been vaccinated. They'll be vaccinated that day and then mark those exams tomorrow. Will it be effective? It will not. I think this time round, the government should just make sure that these teachers are vaccinated early enough, as early as now. Those teachers will mark the exams. If they are not, it is okay, it might be a bad advice, but I will ask them to boycott the marking until their lives are okay. Because those teachers who are marking those exams, I think barely 20% of them is less than 35 years. Almost all of them are experienced teachers. They are elderly and they are almost 45 years and above, which makes their life in danger. So that the government should just get serious with it, or those teachers should boycott that marking.
Okay, yes. And being that we had like one whole academic year gone, and so right now we are in the efforts to normalize the calendar by 2023. So do you think having the national exams at this time, it was rushed? Was it necessary?
Well, I don't think so, because at the end of the day, we'll have to dial back and bring the academic calendar back to normal. So having it in, around this time is okay. It's okay. It's okay, and obviously because of the low intensity with which the COVID-19 struck not just Kenya but most African countries, we felt like it was not going to rise where it is now. Obviously the hope was false, it was misplaced, and I don't think we would have gotten here if we could have stuck to the measures, the protocols of masking up and social distancing and stuff like that. Most likely it could have been okay. And in as much as I could want to believe it works, it's not, because people are dying. Some people are dying actually known to us. If you ask people, they'll tell you, I know someone who has lost someone.
Yeah, now we all do. We all know somebody.
Yeah. So it's okay. We should have the exams at this time, and all that it should be done is to make sure the candidates are protected. I hope it happened during the KCP exams, because at the end of the day, the safety of our kids is primary. It's very significant. And after the kids, now it's the teachers who take care of that. The invigilators, the supervisors, and the police officers who make sure the exams are done well. So in that line, at the end of the day, the president can say the vaccine is for frontline workers, but he's not going to come and pick you from your house and take you to a vaccination center to get vaccinated. You have to actually put some personal effort and get protected, so that even as you go to take care of exams and stuff like that, it's done. And we cannot be in a lockdown forever. At the end of the day, life has to go on. Life has to go on. We've accepted there is a pandemic. It's deadly, people are dying. But again, people have to eat. This is a country where, unlike in the US where, they process some money and guys are getting checks in their mailboxes and stuff like that, you just pick it, get some money and shop. We're on our own. So Kenyans have to be allowed to go out there and hustle and make a living out of whatever they're doing. So the economy has to be opened up. We have to normalize life. What we need is to advocate for vaccination. We have to procure more doses so that Kenyans can have a chance to keep working hard as they do.
Yeah.
When I wake up in the morning and I see young men walking to industry area, it's very painful, because the money they make is eventually stolen, in the form of taxes and all that. But they should be allowed to continue sweating, because that is the only way they know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then, and during even during this time of the pandemic, Kenyans are still they're not following the protocol. So, what is it that Kenyans really want? We've seen people in at mechanics, markets. People carry on life. A good number of people, they carry on with life just like it's normal. So when will Kenyans really realize that there is a pandemic and it's time to take caution?
Actually, as at this time, because this pandemic came a bit, it's taken time, and Kenyans got used to the protocols, the COVID protocols very well the first time. That's why the first wave didn't hit us. The second wave came, and then people were in lockdown. After lockdown, they were still taking the precautions, which affected their livelihoods. And just as you said, Kenya is not like in the US where we just receive. We have to work for it. And if you tell Kenyans, okay, some of the activities that these Kenyans do, if they don't go out there, they will starve in their houses. They've taken time with the protocols until they have just seen that we can follow these protocols and we will die hungry. Even if today you take a cat and put it in a sack and then tie that sack, it will find its way until to make sure that it comes out. And that is where Kenyans are right now. Kenyans, the economy is not doing good. The protocols also have made sure that some jobs are not working, because I read somewhere in the Kenya National Bureau of Statistics that the lockdown cost Kenya 1.7 million jobs. So if you try and check all those people, what are they doing right now? They will do anything desperately, notwithstanding even their health, just to make sure that they eat for tomorrow.
So we even have a bigger problem to deal with.
Yeah, actually we have a bigger problem than previously as we had. I think Kenyans are they have taken time, and they are between a rock and a hard surface. I think that's it.
Okay, and I would want us now to talk about the politics. You see, now Kenyans are still moving on, because 2022 in August, the second week or first week of August, we're going back to the ballot. But now the politics is on. But we'll be coming to that after the break. We're taking a short break here on the Week in Focus, but we'll be back. Today we're talking matters COVID-19 vaccination rollout, as well as inside politics. Don't go too far. Welcome back. You're watching the Week in Focus right here on Look Up TV. And we want you to engage in the conversation today. We're talking about COVID-19 vaccine rollout, as well as inside politics, just the politics that have happened during the week. The SMS number is 20374. And gentlemen, we're back. And now I want us to talk about the politics. The general elections are next year. And so right now, especially with the BBI, the Building Bridges Initiative, now the handshake, it seems to have cooled down for a bit. You know that there's a committee that is get to table the bill in Parliament, and there seems to be a stalemate. So what are your thoughts on that, Cherry? Are we still going to go to the referendum, and how soon?
Thank you so much. You know, the beauty of Kenyan politics is predictability. As in, if you pay attention, you can see where it's headed. The handshake was perceived as a clever trick by the president to create a peaceful climate for him to govern until 2022. Then, of course, there was a lot of pressure from armchair political analysts saying, oh, you know, that is a genuine friendship initiative between the president and the former prime minister. It looks like the guys who said it was a trick by the president to create a conducive environment for him to govern were actually right. Because as we speak now, there's an air of uncertainty around the whole thing of handshake, BBI, and all that chain. So obviously it's like the president had an idea of retiring together with the former prime minister, an idea I think Raila never really signed into. So when the Cerelac coalition came up, so to say,
That's what they're calling it.
yeah, the the alliance of cowards,
Yeah.
when it came up,
Oh.
it appeared like it had the blessings of the president, and that angered the former prime minister. And it's like now we back to 2007, where the former prime minister is most likely to gang up with the current deputy president. And then, of course, the alliance of cowards will also come up with their own candidate or alliance to face off with these guys. Now, we know very well the former prime minister is a pillar in the BBI handshake thing.
Yes.
Now, if the promise he'd gotten from the president, either explicitly spelled out or perceived, is not fulfilled, I'm not seeing him dedicating his time to BBI. Because of course, after COVID-19, which I am very skeptical about, he came out and said he's going to be in isolation until further notice. That is a mysterious statement coming from Raila. To me, it comes with a lot. It's a loaded statement, obviously. I don't think he was very excited because there is a rumor that he was invited to Setos a couple of times, expecting to have a conversation with the president, himself and the president, only to find the Serelak coalition in attendance, which of course was a violation of the Brotherhood Code, which led to the handshake. So when he comes back, he's likely to come up with a new plan, which might end up burying BBI in some very deep grave, which will take us back to the current constitution being used in the next general election. Now, BBI is a very good thing, in as much as, one of the reasons why I've always opposed BBI is time. It was being championed at a time when Kenyans were suffering. So I was questioning the whole idea of priorities on the side of the government, because you cannot be selling BBI when Kenyans are dying. Now, there's an element of let-up. Some pressure is off the shoulders of Kenyans in as much as the third wave is, wreaking havoc and all that. So BBI promises an expanded executive, which allows for inclusion of more communities into the top leadership of the country, which reduces pressure and, of course, consequently, reduces the chances of post-election violence. So it stands to benefit the deputy president. It stands to benefit the former prime minister as well. Whoever wants to go for the presidency will have to come up with a coalition of 5 guys as they go for that. So it's in the best interest of the deputy president, the former prime minister, and even the kids in the Serelak coalition to actually champion BBI.
You keep calling them Serelak coalition. It actually has a name.
What's the name again?
It's Kenya Alliance.
It's Kenya Moja, but
Kenya
that name was
Moja,
not there.
yes.
Oh,
It was a
well, the only name
stolen
that I know is the Serelak coalition. Now, thanks for that. So it also stands to benefit, because you see, with a Pentagon benefits Gideon, it benefits Musalia, Musyoka, Wetangula, and whoever they decide to include. Of course, at the end of the day, they'll have to get a candidate from Mount Kenya to fit into their, arithmetic, so as to capture the face of the top tribal groupings, which at the end of the day will again take us back to a very divided country, which beats the whole idea the president has been marketing about a united Kenya. Yeah, so that is why, in as much as I've always said the president is a good person, the idea of unity was not grounded on solid ideological grounds. That's why it's going to actually fail. We'll go to the 2022 election as divided as ever, with a lot of pressure on Kenyans, with a lot of pressure from politicians, and possibly some violence, because the Kenyatta Unity Project was founded on, let me say, weak ideological grounds.
What? Do you mean the building bridges?
The initiative, of course, was a 2-man thing, and then when it was supposed to be, I expected the president, with the help of his advisors, to rise above politics and invite everybody. As you become a statesman, you call the former prime minister, get deputy president, get Musalia, get Kalonzo, all these guys in a round table and tell them, you know what, I know you guys are interested in my seat. In 2022, I want to be there. I want you to contest on a fair ground, and the person who gets elected president will be accepted by all Kenyans. And you could have as well included electoral law reform to make sure that we have a fair playground, and when elections are held, the votes that are cast counts. It's not about the people who count the votes. it could have left a legacy that could have stood the test of time. But because it was founded on fake ideological grounds, it's actually going to fail. So we head to 2022 with the same tension, the same pressure.
That we had in the 2017 elections.
Yes.
And the BBI bill, is it now competing, now with the stalemate and the cases in court? Would you say now that it's competing with the general elections and now the campaigns, so it might just suffer?
Actually, Elima, what I've learned, as you said, I like how he's put it. That is the Serela coalition is pushing its idea, and actually it is. They've called themselves first Kenya Moja, and Kenya Moja was a name which was used first to champion the BBI. It was actually...
The Honorable Mbadi says
Mbadi
he came up with it, yes.
Mbadi claimed it. He said, this guy stole a name which I formed it, and the president liked it. So that was not the idea. So actually the BBI is going to suffer because as at now, he said that it was just formed in quicksand, which will just flow the way it is going. Currently, there is no, as we speak, we don't see the same ambience that was there before between the president and the right
Prime
honorable.
Minister, yes.
As we see right now, the deputy president and the prime minister are pushed to one corner, which they complement, and which at the end of the day might end up giving them a chance of working together, because in this political world they are never permanent enemies. They will always work together.
Clearly.
And a combination of Raila Odinga and His Excellency the Deputy President is a very serious one. The Serela coalition might not even get half of it. I saw the Deputy President yesterday in an interview saying, he was asked, are you a lone ranger? And actually he said, if I can manage to bring up 140 MPs, if you tell these guys to bring this Serela coalition, they might not even bring 50, all of them combined. He said it is only Raila that can bring at least a good number of MPs, which makes them a good combination for the next election. And the BBI right now in Parliament, I saw it is facing a hurdle, because I saw in the jailer committee, they said they want to amend it, and as in the constitution, in the article 259, or it is 59, yes, it is said that you cannot even amend a comma, not even a dot, and which poses a question that why did we have the public participation? Did we just take this thing to Kenyans to see it? What comes of the suggestions that Kenyans made in the ground? The MCAs took it to the ground. I also went, participated, gave my views. So my views were just there. The MCAs could not amend. They could not change anything in that BBI. The MPs cannot change. So what comes of the whole of that process? Okay, having amendments in the same BBI might bring so many issues, because we all have different interests. The constituencies, the ombudsman, there are just so many issues that people really want to change in there. But why did we have the public participation first? I think that is something that should be checked into.
But was the public participation even effectively executed anyway?
Actually, it was not effectively executed, but there were some few. Even if there are two individuals that
at least you got to participate.
Yes, I personally participated,
Okay.
and my view cannot be added into that document, which means the public participation was of no essence, and which I saw Orengo saying these guys want to convert the members of parliament into voting machines, because you'll just go there and vote, and we just left with one question: yes or no. You have no option. Take the document as is and vote it as it is, which is a bone of contention. So the BBI will face a very big uphill task there.
Hurdle. Now that we're just 16 months away from the general elections.
Actually.
And now you mentioned the deputy president, and when he spoke in that interview, he said that he is a nationalist, just like just like former prime minister, and that because Raila's party, ODM can field a candidate across Kenya in the 47 counties, as well as his the new party, UDA, which can also just do the same. So, but by him calling himself a nationalist, trying to accuse the Kenya Alliance, Kenya Moja Alliance, of being tribal and only fielding candidates in their different communities, isn't this a little hypocritical, given the nature of politics that we do in this country, on Cherry?
Well, thanks for the question, because it has answers. We're talking about Gideon Moi with the KANU, a party which cannot even get him re-elected as a senator of Baringo County. That is a fact. If it decides to go and field a candidate in a place like Bonchari, for instance, we actually have a by-election going on right now. He can go and field a candidate if he feels like he's strong enough. He cannot get votes. Now, what the deputy president was saying, if you're talking about the discussion he had with Jalango, he was referring to Matungu, Kabuchai, and the other places where he has fielded candidates using the new party, which is very new, by the way. I think it's like 3 months old. In Kabuchai, I think they got about 5,000 votes, and in Matungu, around the same number of votes. Then he posed a question which I've been thinking about for the longest time. If, for example, Kalonzo Musyoka criticizes UDA and questions the number of votes UDA got in Matungu, can Wiper go to Eldoret North and field a candidate there and get even 10 votes? That is the question I was asking. So when we're talking about a national party, we're talking about a party which has the outlook and the support base to field a candidate in places considered not to be strongholds and still get support. You don't have to win.
But UDA got votes, but would you say it's because of the Jubilee influence, so it was easier for people just to vote
the answer
for
is
the
no.
party?
The answer is no, because the reason as to why UDA exists is because of the disconnect between the section of Jubilee allied to the deputy president and the other one of the likes of Kamanda and Murathe. So there is no way guys could have supported UDA because of Jubilee. No, not at all. Actually, if you go to London Ward in Nakuru, UDA had a candidate and Jubilee had a candidate. And Kikuyus in large numbers supported the UDA candidate and not the Jubilee candidate, despite the lots and lots of money Minor Commander took to London Ward. So there is no way you can tell me that guys supported UDA because of the Jubilee influence, because in some places Jubilee had a candidate anyway and the Jubilee candidate lost. Now if you go back to Gatiru Ward in Murang'a, that was the first victory of hustlers. There was a young girl who came out and campaigned openly as a hustler. And then there was a Jubilee candidate. She beat the Jubilee candidate after flying the Ruto flag deep in Mount Kenya, Murang'a. So what the deputy president was saying is, UDA might not get victory in places where it fields candidates, but it can get votes, a substantial number of votes.
So it has a national appeal.
Yes. KANU cannot do that. Wiper cannot do that. And ANC cannot do that. At all. They cannot. Actually, they went to Musambweni and won through Faisal. They won that, despite the attempt to rig and stuff like that. And we saw what happened in Matungu and Kabuchai. There was open violation of electoral laws. And it's a shame that the Chebukati-led IEBC has not taken action. There are clips all over social media of Jubilee guys giving out money to voters in London Ward, which is a violation of IEBC electoral code of conduct. We could have expected someone to be nullified, but it never happened. We saw what happened in Matungu. Guys were being beaten. Even IEBC officials were being, abused, using the most of foul languages, and even beaten. IEBC has not taken action. They actually decided to take action against just one person, this guy from HSA.
HSA,
Yeah, because it was politically expedient and good for the media. The harassment, the violence that was sponsored by some state organs in support of the NC candidate in Matungu and the Ford Kenya candidate in Kabuchai is well known. Kenyans know that. And like in the dark days of Moi, dictator Moi, a very brutal dictator who, trampled on this country for 24 years. And like those days when Kenyans could not see what was happening, now they can see. You do something, it's captured on social media and it spreads all over the world. We saw what happened. There was no election in Matungu and there was no election in Kabuchai. That was a travesty. So there's no way ANC can claim victory on that. Actually, I think the UDA candidate could have been number one Number 2 could have been ODM. The NC candidate could have been number 3 in Matungu. In Kabuchai, the Ford Kenya candidate could have won, but not by such a huge, difference in terms of votes. That is what could have happened.
Okay.
So I don't think any of these guys on their own can do anything. That is why they have to cry to Raila for endorsement. That is why they have to cling to the deep state. They forget that in 2007, when Raila and the deputy president joined hands, they actually won the election. Raila won the election in 2007.
Well, that might be true, but it was a combination of different communities that led to that. It was not just Rift Valley and Baba.
The coalition Baba created with Ruto was strong enough to deliver victory. And of course, the victory of the former prime minister was stolen, and that led to violence. We headed to the same corner. And if I listened to the deputy president, and he was making very glowing references to ODM and to the former prime minister. He did not call him Muganga even a single time, which is, remarkable.
Which he normally does.
Yeah, it was very remarkable. And then I've also listened to ODM MPs. They're talking about Ruto in very nice, language, which is different from calling him Mwizi and all that, which could be signaling something. They're headed somewhere. And if that happens, the loser is the president. Because the next government will most likely be formed by these two guys. And it will be an embarrassment on the president. The worst mistake the president can make is to push the former prime minister to endorse Gideon Moi. Kenyans have not forgotten the 24 years of Moi. They've not. And as Kenyan history goes, projects do not succeed. There's a time the president himself was a project of Moi in 2002. He lost. He lost to Kibaki. And there's a lot of confidence in the deep state, but the deep state also knows that they cannot behave in a way that can lead to bloodshed. The will of the people is supreme. Even voting, even vote rigging has limits. You cannot pick a kitten from the top of the table and rig it to the State House and expect Kenyans to just watch. Yes. Kenyans know the only two people who can actually move around the country and get support that can take them to State House is number 1, the former Prime Minister, number 2, the Deputy President. That is where it is. Okay. Anything else is just wish-wash. Yes.
So, and looking at the alliances, now, Kenya Moja Alliance, that is made of, ANC, Ford, Wiper, and KANU. So looking at that alliance, and they said they're going to support Jubilee. So this is in essence just supporting the president's bid and whoever the president will field for 2022. So looking at that, has then the deputy president and former prime minister, have they been isolated?
It depends now your definition of isolation, because isolation, if it is isolation from the deep state, it is another thing. If it is isolation from Kenyans, I think there are some very few people we know who are isolated. And that is the Kenya Moja Alliance, which is very isolated right now. They've found themselves that their parties are tribal parties, they are tribal cocoons, which they want to join, and which is very divisive to the country. They have found that they are isolated one by one, and now they want to merge to try and make themselves appear not isolated, which they are still isolated because they are isolated. Because they don't have Kenyans with them, they are trying to run to the deep state to endorse them and to use government machinery to acquire power, which will be a bit hard for them. So to me, people who are isolated so much is the Kenya Moja Alliance, and currently Jubilee is taking itself to isolation. Because so far their activities and their behavior seems to show that they want to isolate themselves, and they're isolating themselves to a very bad end, because if they join this Kenya Moja, they are going to lose together. It is only Raila and His Excellency, the Deputy President, that can make a very united face of this country. As you can see, UDA and ODM right now, they are fielding candidates everywhere. Currently, these people, this Kenya Moja, want to take us back to that single party system, where I heard yesterday Kalonzo saying that we cannot field a candidate where Jubilee is fielding a candidate. We cannot field everywhere. So what do you want to tell us?
But that's how coalitions work.
Yeah.
Like you come together and where Jubilee has higher chances,
Coalitions work.
that's how our politics
Actually,
in Kenya work.
yes, coalitions work in that way, but I think that is not democracy anymore. Because if today one party there decides to field a candidate, it will be viewed as an ouster or betraying the other parties, which is not very good. Just the other day, I saw my friend Cleopas Malala crying, and he was ousted because his party that ODM there ousted him. They say that he does not belong, he's not loyal to the party, which I don't think we really need to push that hard. Democracy, free will thinking should be allowed.
Okay, and now we're running out of time, but I want us to talk a little bit about the coastal governors. They met Uhuru in State House this week, and so is ODM losing grip on the politics of the coast? Yes, Onchari, very briefly.
Yeah, I think the grip of ODM and the former Prime Minister on coastal politics has loosened a bit, and that began a long time ago, after differences between Joho and the former Prime Minister. Ever since the former Prime Minister joined the government, which of course the President made very clear, there were sections of the Coast Province that were not excited about that, so they moved away from him a little bit. That is one of the reasons actually why it was very hard for ODM to win Musambweni, which was initially an ODM position. So, and then of course, we're talking about Kingi and Joho, who've done their 2 terms, as well as Muvuria. So they're on their way out. They have to find a way to survive after 2022. So, and when they look at the former Prime Minister, I don't think they see a lot of promise. So they're trying to do what we call juggling. And then it's not entirely pursuit of their political interests on the side of the President. It's also a little bit of trying to buy their own freedom. Most of these guys have stolen so much money, especially Kingi. And it's known, we have cases where money
allegedly.
Well, we have cases of course the disclaimer is good because of the media house. We have cases where money was transferred directly to accounts belonging to associates of the governor, and given by what has been going on around here, Waititu, Sonka and stuff like that, some of these guys have to just play ball for their own safety, Now, going forward, given the possible unit of working between the former Prime Minister and the Deputy President,
yes,
who are actually the 2 guys who control the coast, because Jubilee is not there, I don't think that meeting is going to lead to anything. It cannot amount to anything. If today, and I think the President knows that, if today Raila and Ruto work together and they go to the coast and make sure Joho is finished politically, together with Kingi and Muvuria, that will happen. Jubilee cannot get any kind of support. If you send Musalia there, it will be a waste of time. Gideon cannot get support even from his own what? Okay. Don't talk even about Rift Valley, talk about Baringo as a county. He cannot. So that is not going to lead to anything. So at the end of the day, what Kenyans need to watch out for very, very, very strongly and carefully is where Ruto and Raila are headed. It's not so much about the Serelak coalition.
Kenya Moja Alliance. Okay, so and as you conclude very briefly, Victor, so is it a possibility for Deputy President and Raila to be in collision come 2022? They have allied, people who are allied to them, like Mbadi, they've said that there are no talks about any collision right now. They're focusing on BBI, and getting into any coalition right now is a waste of time. But do we see a possibility of the Deputy President and Raila actually trying to run for the presidency on one party?
The answer is yes. Because as we speak, the President, not the President, the Deputy President and the Right Honorable Raila Odinga, seemingly they are almost in the same corner. in the whole political scenario in the country right now, they only seem to complement together, because the other side, the Kenya Moja, as you say, coalition, the Serala coalition, they might not welcome Raila very well. They might not welcome Raila, and also Ruto might not fit into the same script. So which leaves Raila with only Ruto, which gives a very high possibility of the two working together. Because right now, and the coalition of Raila and William Ruto, it is a little one, and it will make a government. It is going to make the next government, if only they decide to work together. Mbadi yesterday said the only talks Mbadi only said that the only talks that were there between the Right Honorable and the Deputy President was William Ruto calling Raila to ask him, how are you doing? Which is a good gesture. At least, I think that's how we start.
They're friendly.
They're friendly, and I know they will work together.
Thank you, gentlemen, for being part of this conversation. We have come to the end of the Week in Focus right here on Look Up TV. Today we have been talking about the COVID-19 vaccination rollout as well as inside politics. Thank you so much for watching.